If you own a firearm and you have not checked your state laws in the last 30 days, you need to keep watching this video for the next 5 minutes. Do not assume that what was legal last year is still legal today. A recent Supreme Court ruling has triggered a wave of new gun laws across multiple states, and thousands of people have no idea that the firearm sitting in their safe right now might already be classified as an illegal weapon under state law. The April 2026 fallout from that ruling is rolling out faster than most people realize, and the consequences for owning the wrong gun are not small. They can include fines, confiscation, criminal charges, and a permanent record that follows you for life. If you care about protecting yourself, your family, or your freedom, this is information you cannot afford to ignore. Here is what makes this situation especially dangerous. Most people who own these firearms did nothing wrong. They bought them from licensed dealers, they passed background checks, they followed every rule they knew about. But state legislators are not waiting for those people to catch up. They are passing laws with immediate effective dates, and enforcement has already begun in several states. If you have not heard about this yet, you are not behind. You are just in time. The Supreme Court decision earlier this year created a legal framework that allowed states to reclassify certain firearm models under their own laws. That ruling did not ban anything outright at the federal level, but it opened the door for states to act on their own. And act they did. Within weeks of the ruling, 10 states moved forward with new classifications. Some of these changes affect popular models that millions of Americans own. Some affect accessories that millions more use on completely legal firearms. And the people most at risk are the ones who do not even know the conversation is happening. The first category that changed involves semi-automatic rifles with specific magazine configurations. These are not exotic weapons. They are the rifles that sit in gun safes across the country, the ones that families buy for home defense, hunting, and sport shooting. But because of how the new state laws define their features, they now fall into categories that require registration, special permits, or outright prohibition depending on where you live. If you purchased one of these rifles between 2024 and early 2026, you might be sitting on a violation right now without knowing it. The mistake almost everyone makes is assuming that the gun is the problem. It is not. The problem is the state you live in and the specific configuration of the firearm you own. A rifle that is completely legal in Texas might be illegal in New York, and a magazine that is fine in Florida might be prohibited in California. This means the same exact item in the same exact condition can mean the difference between legal ownership and a criminal charge depending on your address. That is why understanding which specific models and configurations are now affected is not optional. It is urgent. The second category involves handguns with certain magazine capacities and internal safety mechanisms. These are among the most commonly purchased firearms in America. Millions of households have at least one. But multiple states have reclassified models that were previously listed as legal. The reclassification does not just affect new purchases. In several states, it applies retroactively to firearms purchased years ago. That means the gun you bought legally 5 years ago may now be considered an illegal weapon under current state law. You would not know unless you looked it up, and most people have not looked it up. What happens if you get caught with one of these? It depends on your state, but here is what the reality looks like in most places. First, the firearm gets confiscated. You do not get it back. Second, you face fines that can run into thousands of dollars. Third, depending on the state and the circumstances, you can face misdemeanor or even felony charges. Fourth, once you have that record, it affects your ability to own firearms for the rest of your life. It can affect your job, your housing, your ability to travel, and your standing in your community. This is not a hypothetical. This is already happening to people right now, and the numbers are climbing every week. Before you go any further, make sure you are subscribed to this channel and hit the like button. Videos like this one are designed to keep you informed about changes that directly affect your rights and your safety, and more are coming. If you found this information useful, sharing it with someone you care about might be the most important thing you do today. Now let us get into the specific firearms that are now affected. I want to be clear about what I am about to share. I am not telling you what to do with your firearms. I am not offering legal advice. I am giving you information so you can make your own decisions with full knowledge of what is happening. That matters, and it is the reason this video exists. The first model that has been caught in this wave of reclassification is the Smith & Wesson M&P 15 series rifles, in certain barrel lengths and magazine configurations. These rifles are everywhere. Law enforcement uses them, sportsmen use them, homeowners use them for protection. But under the new definitions in several states, specific versions of this model now fall into prohibited categories. If you own one of these, check your specific model number and your state code. Do not assume that having a legal-looking rifle in a legal-looking condition means you are in the clear. The second model involves certain variants of the Beretta 92 series handguns with extended magazines. These are extremely popular pistols, and millions of people own them. The problem is not the pistol itself. The problem is the magazine capacity and the way some states now define those magazines. If you have a 12-round or 15-round magazine that came with your Beretta, it might be legal in one state and illegal in another. And if you bought it in a state where it was legal and then moved, you might now be in violation of your new state's law without realizing it. The third category involves specific Ruger 1022 configurations with aftermarket triggers and certain stock designs. This is a rimfire rifle that is one of the most popular in American history. People buy them for training, for plinking, for youth shooting programs. But several states have now listed certain configuration variations as prohibited because of modifications that were legal when they were made. If you have a customized 1022, do not assume it is still legal under current definitions. The fourth model is the Sig Sauer P320 with certain grip modules and magazine configurations. This pistol is the standard issue for multiple law enforcement agencies across the country. Civilian versions are extremely popular. But as states have redefined what constitutes a compliant firearm, specific versions of the P320 have been caught in the reclassification sweep. If you own one of these, verify your exact configuration against current state law. The fifth model involves specific FN Herstal rifles in certain configurations. These are high-quality firearms that many collectors and sport shooters own. Several states have reclassified them based on features that were legal when purchased. The dangerous part is that FN has multiple model lines, and not all of them are affected equally. Some configurations are still legal, while others nearby have been prohibited. Knowing which one you own is not something you can guess at. Before I continue, I want you to think about someone you know who owns firearms. It could be a family member, a friend, a coworker. That person probably does not know about these changes. That person probably assumes their firearms are still legal. And that person might be one conversation away from finding out that their safe is full of weapons that their state now considers illegal. Send them this video. It might be the most helpful thing you do for them this month. The sixth model involves specific Colt AR-15 variants with particular barrel lengths and rail systems. These are among the most recognizable rifles in America. They have been legal for decades, but states are using the Supreme Court framework to reclassify them based on technical specifications that the average owner would never think to check. The result is that a rifle that looks exactly like what you have seen in sporting goods stores for years might now be prohibited in your state without any public announcement catching your attention. The seventh category involves certain versions of the Glock 19 and Glock 17 with specific magazine configurations and accessory rails. These are among the best-selling handguns in the world. Police carry them. Citizens carry them. Instructors recommend them. But because of the way states are interpreting the new legal framework, some Glock models and configurations have been swept into prohibited categories. If you own a Glock and you have not checked your specific state law recently, you need to do that today. The eighth model involves specific Smith & Wesson revolvers with certain cylinder configurations and grip designs. These are often viewed as traditional firearms that nobody would target with new regulations. But that assumption has proven wrong. Several states have included certain revolver models in their reclassification efforts, based on technical features that the average owner would never consider problematic. If you have a revolver that you bought in the last 5 years, check the specifics before you assume it is still legal. The ninth category involves certain versions of the CZ75 series pistols, with specific magazine capacities and safety mechanisms. These are highly regarded firearms that many enthusiasts consider among the best in the world. Several states have now listed specific CZ models as requiring registration or as outright prohibited depending on the configuration. If you own a CZ, do not assume that the reputation of the firearm protects you from state law. It does not. The 10th model involves specific Kimber pistols with certain grip textures and magazine configurations. Kimber makes quality firearms that many people trust. But as states have moved quickly to implement new classifications, Kimber models have been caught alongside other popular brands. The pattern here should be clear. This is not about targeting one manufacturer or one type of firearm. This is about a wave of reclassification that is affecting many models across the market. Now, here is the part that most people do not think about until it is too late. The enforcement of these laws is not waiting for a grace period. State agencies are already conducting compliance checks. Police departments in some states are actively looking for these firearms during routine encounters. District attorneys in several jurisdictions have made prosecution of illegal firearm possession a priority. And once a charge is filed, the burden of proof often falls on you to demonstrate that your firearm was legal when you purchased it. That is a difficult position to be in, especially if you do not have receipts, registration documents, or clear records of your purchase. The people who are most vulnerable in this situation are the ones who bought firearms in good faith, followed the law as they understood it, and never imagined that a change in state classification would affect them. Those people are not criminals. They are ordinary citizens who made ordinary decisions. But ordinary decisions made without current information can lead to extraordinary consequences when the law changes underneath you. If you are watching this and feeling uncertain about your own situation, here is what you should do right now. First, identify the specific make, model, and configuration of every firearm you own. Second, look up the current firearms laws in your state, not the laws as you remember them, but the laws as they exist today. Third, if you find that you own something that might be affected, do not panic, but do not ignore it either. Consult a qualified attorney in your state who specializes in firearms law. That consultation might cost a few $100s, but it is nothing compared to the cost of a criminal charge. Before I wrap up, I want you to understand something important. This is not about politics. This is not about whether you believe in the Second Amendment or whether you think these laws are fair. This is about facts. The facts are that laws have changed. The facts are that some firearms that were legal are no longer legal in certain states. The facts are that the consequences for noncompliance are real, and they are already happening. You can care about the politics and still need to deal with the reality. And here is the reality that matters most. You have the power to protect yourself right now. You can get the information you need. You can make informed decisions. You can talk to an attorney. You can register, modify, or responsibly dispose of any firearms that might be affected. What you cannot do is go back in time and undo a charge that was preventable. That is why this information matters today, not next month, not after you have more time. Today, if this channel has helped you understand something important, then it is doing what it is supposed to do. These videos exist to give you information that protects your family, your freedom, and your future. If you want more content like this, make sure you are subscribed because the legal landscape is changing fast, and videos like this one will help you stay ahead of it. Let me leave you with the most important thing to take away from this. The people who avoid these problems are not the ones who never made a mistake. They are the ones who found out in time and acted on what they learned. If you own firearms, if you live in a state where laws have changed, if you have not checked your collection against current law recently, today is the day to do that. Not tomorrow. Not when you get around to it. Today, the firearm in your safe right now might be perfectly legal. Or it might be the thing that changes your life in ways you cannot imagine. That is not a risk worth taking on silence and assumption. Get the information. Get the facts. Talk to someone who knows the law in your state. And share this video with anyone who needs to hear it. Your action today could be the thing that protects everything you care about tomorrow.